What does it mean to live life to the fullest, train to your potential, and perform at your best?
Leave nothing on the table. That's a non-negotiable, is that I strive to be better every day. Because if I'm not on top of my game, how is anybody else going to follow me down the road?
Keep demanding more of yourself to live up to that potential and to stay hungry.
Training is progress. You know, when I look at the word training, I think of steps, baby steps to get somewhere that you want to be. And that is basically your life journey.
It's a mindset in itself, man. It's like, it's not just about, I know that for you, a lot of that's about the physical, but we're constantly in training, whether it's growing our skill sets, whether it's growing our physical bodies, whether it's growing our relationships, whatever. And all of that's a training ground. And that kind of goes back to the mindset that we just talked about.
You underestimate yourself and you don't even start. But then once you start, you often surpass what you thought you could do.
Perform at your best, mate. That's sort of what life is all about. You know, I want to have the knowledge, I want to have the fitness, the health, the ambition and drive that no matter what comes along, when that next phone call comes, I can just say yes. I don't have to worry. Just go and do it.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of the Live, Train, Perform podcast. I'm your host, Shaun Kober, and rejoining me today is my man, Will Foden. How are you, brother?
I'm very well, man. How are you, man? You good?
I am very well. I've had Will on the podcast many months ago. You were actually one of my first interviews, man, and that was a really good conversation. I had a lot of really good feedback from that. And I'm excited to have you back on for one of my Coach's Corner episodes where it's basically, you know, two fucking people sitting down, having a conversation, talking shop about the shit that we love, the shit that we're passionate about, answering questions, running ideas past each other and things like that. Now, the purpose of today's episode is I've actually got a number of questions that have come in from, some of my listeners, my followers, and I can answer them myself, but you know, I'd prefer to get someone like yourself on who's a fucking good coach who knows his shit so we can actually have a conversation about this stuff rather than me just saying, this is what you do, this is what this means, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's workshop it. Let's have an open conversation about this stuff. Let's figure it out and you know, find a way to present good quality information to people that's going to resonate with them.
Yeah, awesome, man. Absolutely. It's important when two minds collide. It's also a good thing for other people to get a different point of view. So I'm definitely keen.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I love about this as well is, mate, it's a long form conversation and you can't fucking cheat that. You know, you see so many people on, you see so many people on social media that it's like, you know, I'm going to get as much information as I can into a 1 minute video and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like all this fucking bullshit that sounds awesome. It sounds sexy. And then at the end, like, I'm going to sell you something. And it's like, you know, that's not the fucking answer.
It's the issue of our industry, man. It's got the lowest entry rate and information. Google has been the best thing, but it's one of the worst things for our industry. Because time in the game doesn't mean very much anymore. It's a huge conundrum we have at the moment.
Oh man, that's an excellent point, actually. You know, look at what's happening in the world right now. You know, people go online and they're like, coronavirus is not real, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you've got someone who's, you know, that's fucking educated in the field, who's, you know, gone to school for 8 years and, you know, they've gone through all this research studies and, you know, fucking written theses and things like that, got a master's degree and, you know, old fucking Tom, Dick and Harry go online and they're like, oh, well, that's bullshit. It's all a fucking conspiracy theory and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that because, you know, I'm sure there is some bullshit out there that is not true and that we are getting fucking, funneled into bullshit and fed bullshit information, whatever. But, you know, this podcast is not about conspiracy theories, but
absolutely not, man. None of these flat world motherfuckers talking about, I'm good. I'm good. Toothless Joe from the middle of nowhere can keep his opinion. I guess not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. Like, that's the point, man, is like, you know, be a fucking critical thinker and search out people who are experts in the field that you want to know about, not the fucking opinion of old mate that's walking past you on the street.
Absolutely. It's so frustrating, especially when, like you said, we'll have it as working within fitness is you'll give your clients information and it gets misconstrued 6 or 7 times because they flip onto their phone and some bellend is sending some stupid information regarding whether it's like carbs are going to give you a disease or insert any sort of formality. And it's so frustrating because it's such an influence over people's lives rather than taking the sort of the measures of actually, do you know what? I'm going to go look at the source of someone who actually knows what they're talking about, not some retard who just thinks he's like you said, it's all smoke and mirrors and just putting up blasé bollocks all over Instagram. It's frustrating.
Yeah, man. But dude, I mean, fuck, I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation before, bro. Maybe on the last episode or offline or something like that. Like, who's to blame for that? Is it the people that are putting out the bullshit, or is it the people that's fucking lapping that up and, you know, buying their products and giving them, you know, a platform to be able to, you know, gobble up all the fucking bullshit? Like, if there's a demand for bullshit, someone's going to supply it, right?
Especially at this time, because people are desperate in both sides of the. You've got guys who are in business who are throwing whatever information out there for the reason of just trying to make money because they're scared of, or they feel they've got an opportunity. But then you've got guys on the other front of it who are not suffering mental health, but are in a bad spot because of COVID and they haven't got control of their shit. Something that resonated with me when we first went into lockdown, especially in Thailand, when you said, I've got 6 months worth of books, I've got 2 courses or whatever on the line, I can turn my phone off and I don't really give a shit. Whereas most people are spending too much time on social media, living through other people's lives and not thinking. One thing that I'm big on is like, when this does end, where are you going to be? Because COVID will stop and we'll have a vaccine or whatever. It will pass. But there's going to be some people that are moving forward who are going to hit the ground running and are going to smash it as soon as it opens up, whether you're in lockdown or not. And there's also going to be so many guys that are stuck at the bottom of the water, of the pool. And they're going to be blaming everybody. They're going to be angry. They're going to not have anything behind them to think, actually, do you know what? I can take control of this. It comes down to the value system that you have on the current situation. I think that's what is important.
Yeah, man. I love that whole statement that you just said then. And I mean, this is the whole idea of the Coach's Corner. For those listening who have been following the podcast for a while, I was just talking to Will off air about, you know, what the goal is with the podcast. And, you know, I still want to continue with a lot of the themes that I've been doing with my 5-minute fitness tips and my mini series on nutrition and sleep and stress management, all that type of stuff. But I also want to focus on, you know, getting on really good coaches and having good conversations about, you know, the questions that I'm getting from my clients, listeners, followers, the questions that they're getting from their listeners, followers, etc. So we can workshop it. We can talk about this stuff in real time and, you know, give this information to people and have it as a resource for us to send people to. So basically what I want to do is get someone like Will on once a month, and he will bring in, you know, 3 frequently asked questions that he gets from his clients, and then we'll sit down, we'll workshop that, and we'll release that over, you know, 2, 3, 4 episodes or whatever, and then I'll get on the next coach, and then I'll get on the next coach, and you know, it'll be, I kind of want to build a network of trustworthy coaches that people can fucking rely upon to give them good quality information and cut through the bullshit. You know, we're not trying to sell something. We're trying to give people the information to get to the start point. Like that, yeah. And that's, you know, that was the big thing. We were talking about John's episode before, John Latoc's episode, and, you know, some of the things we took out of that. And something that he said that I was like, that is so spot on is, you know, our job as coaches, everyone comes to us and they're like, I want to change my body composition. I want to improve performance. I want to lose a heap of weight. I want to fucking this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, our job as coaches is to strip everything back and go, all right, let's get you into a place where you're at the start line, ready to fucking roll, because most people are not there yet. And I think Luke Lehman says it with his Muscle Nerds course is like, let's prep the prep.
Absolutely. And it's probably the biggest thing that I found over the last few years is that prep the prep. And it's not necessarily, people assume that we're talking about bodybuilding prep, as in prepping for a bodybuilding comp. It's not. You're preparing yourself to take the next step in everything, whether it's your sleep, rest, digestion, whether your psychology, spirituality is also a big one. I think people are very much, they're frightened of standing up for something. They all feel they feel vindicated, or they don't when they don't actually put their line in the sand and say, this is what I mean. That's probably why people actually listen to you, is that you have a voice and you have an opinion and you can back it. Whereas I find a lot of people are frightened because they haven't got the adequate knowledge, because they haven't searched in the right places. What they do is they pick off bullshit off Instagram without, because they're following people that aren't providing the information that we were talking about. Is, I think one cool thing about that is that the listeners will hear coaching in real life, You're going to hear us spitting and talking about things and working our way around it, because coaching is not a black and white thing. That's what people are. So it's such a hard thing because it depends, or I'm not sure, we'll see, or we have. It happens in every conversation, and it can be frustrating. Yeah. But starting with the end in mind and reverse engineering, it's important. But we all have to understand that the end game is not the end game, because it's like we play sport. You finish sport and then you've still got whatever the rest of your life left. So you can't just say, well, I played this final game, I'm done, because you wake up the next day. It's a huge part of what I'm sort of discovering myself.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. And it's constant learning, it's constant education, it's constant feedback, and it's, people are jigsaw puzzles, and we need to fucking figure out what tool is going to be appropriate for that person at that particular time in their life. And that's our job as coaches, man, is to acquire as many tools as we can, that we can then, get as many tools in the toolbox as we can, so that every single person that comes up to us, they say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And we dive into, all of the other shit, like to get them to the start line. Because most people come to us and they're like, hey, I want a training program, want a nutrition plan. And it's like, all right, cool, I can give you that, but are you actually going to get the most out of that? Because if you're not sleeping well and you've been dieting for fucking 2 years, you've created metabolic adaptation, you work a high stress job, you're in a bad relationship and whatever, man, like all of these things come into play. And yes, we can give every single fucking person the same training plan, literally, and the same nutrition plan. And, some people are going to fucking thrive on that, but that's going to be like 5% of people. And those 5% of people are going to thrive on that training plan because they're getting enough sleep. They're hydrating, they're eating the right amount of food at the right times in the right ratios. They're managing their stress. They're in a fucking good position to be able to optimize that 1 hour of training, right? And I say it all the time, manage the other 23 hours of the day so that you can optimize that 1 hour.
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't, like, I can't remember who said it. I heard this would have been last year, that it doesn't matter what program you're on. If it's adhered to the letter, you're probably going to get a good result compared to a terrible program that's adhered to it's very, the problem with training is people associate, they don't understand that exercise is an adaptive methodology. It's not an actual thing. People associate exercise with good or bad connotations, rather than me and you and people who are a bit more versed in it will say, well, what's the dose we can give here to meet the current situation of your lifestyle? Or you can put it in various, like, obviously from your perspective, is dealing with a professional athlete, they can suffer more than anyone. Like, they are, especially in an MMA fight, like them dudes will eat literally nothing and they will fight to the death. But those are not general population clients, mums of 3 who just want to look better in a bikini, or a dad who's 40s realize he can't run because his gut's hanging out. He's not a professional fighter, and him suffering has got a time frame. There's only so long they can do that before they break emotionally, physically, or they just have enough and they rebound. And I think, like you said, our job is just not the short term gratification of what exercise we're giving them. It's the long term. Where are you going to be in 6 months, in a year's time? And have you kept what we said we're going to do? Not 8 weeks. Just staple your mouth shut and sit on a bike for 8 weeks and you'll lose weight. But you're not going to get it. You're not going to keep it. You're going to literally rebound. So it's definitely, that's the conundrum that we have, definitely as coaches.
Yeah, man, that's a really good point. Like, every training program works and every diet plan works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? Because your body adapts to it. That's the point. Like, your body's going to adapt to whatever you do. And this is why a lot of people, when they go on a diet and they're, looking for a fat loss kick or a weight loss kick or whatever, they lose weight for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then they hit a fucking plateau and they're like, right, where do I go from here? And all they do is eat less, move more. And now they're just fucking digging themselves deeper into that metabolic adaptation hole, and makes it harder and harder to get out. And the longer you fucking do that, the more damage you create. And I mean, some people are probably going to go, well, you don't actually create metabolic damage because blah, blah, blah. Like, it's natural. It's a normal process. Your body is supposed to adapt. Your metabolism is supposed to adapt, right? But the point is, like, if you're digging that hole, you've been in a fucking diet for a long period of time, you know, your body is going to start shutting certain things down. You've got 11 systems of the body. If you're not getting enough nutrients and you're starving your fucking body of those nutrients, and you're adding exercise on top of, you know, a stressful job and poor sleep and, you know, lack of hydration and lack of nutrients, etc., etc., like, you're just fucking digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's much, much harder. It's much more difficult. It's going to take a lot longer to get out of that hole.
Well, yeah, like what we're talking about is REDS, so relative energy deficit syndrome, or in sport. And as you see, in MMA, there's a podcast, an Australian dietitian talking. He's got quite a few on there. If anybody's interested as well, his stuff's amazing on REDS. It's talking about how if you're thinking you can drive a car without any petrol in it for that long, you're gonna break somewhere. And long-term exercise and nutrition is associated with starving, because everyone thinks you starve yourself. You have to drop to get to the lowest body fat possible and get a six-pack and feel amazing. But no one actually thinks about the actual thriving aspect of trainings for adaptation. And we have to be able to train hard enough to adapt and to acclimatize and get to the next rung of the ladder, where most people just survive. And they're going into a gym and they're just sweating. They feel like shit all the time. Dudes can't get a boner because they've got no libido. Women are losing their menstrual cycle, and they feel that this is a normal thing. This is what happens when you diet, when you're supposed to cut some weight. It's not normal. I mean, I've got a client. Obviously, January, the prime time in January is detoxes, intermittent fasting, fucking double cardio, whatever. There's a time, like, I'm a funny one. Like, there's a time and a place that January is a good reset for a lot of general population clients of mine, because they've gone and they've burnt the candle at one end and we're trying to bring them back down. But it doesn't mean I starve them. What that means is I just clean up their food hygiene and just say, let's get back on the wagon. And suddenly we pull a bit of carbohydrate out, but not all of it. We keep fruit and veg in there, and we just take away fucking Christmas pudding and roast potatoes.
Processed foods.
And shit. And suddenly, I've lost 4 kilos. It's not magic. It's not body fat. That's a lot more than just body. That's water. That's glycogen. That's inflammation. That's you actually becoming normal again, so to speak. And then we're back on the plan. Not this change. Like you said, it's frustrating. You see clients turning up and I've got my second detox tea of the day, and you're there looking at it like, are you absolutely fucking mad? What are you on? What have you come here for? Like, you're coming to train. You're not coming to just survive. Like, very frustrating. But that's the problem with instant gratification, right? We all want it now. We're not willing to work for it. It's the same with money. It's the same with fitness. It's everybody wants to be a millionaire tomorrow, where they don't see the in-between bit.
Yeah, man. Fuck, man. There was so many things to unpack there. We could literally just bounce back and forth this entire episode, and you know that might actually happen.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see where the conversation goes.
We'll see where we go.
But something you said there was, you know, surviving or thriving. That's a great fucking point. Right, going back to what I was saying before, and last time we had our conversation, you know, we spoke about stress, and stress has been linked to 9 of the top 10 causes of all-cause mortality. Right now, stress is caused by many, many different things. Right, like we have 11 different systems of the body, and everything we eat is broken down into raw materials to replenish, repair, rejuvenate those systems. Now, when we're stressing our body, it doesn't matter whether that's training, whether that's bad sleep, whether that's lack of hydration, nutrient deficiencies, etc., etc. Like, that is taking away from our energy that we're getting from food. So, you know, if we're under eating and we're overtraining and we're fucking smashing training, trying to lose body fat, trying to get leaner, you know, trying to manage our life and our relationship and our finances and our career and our children and all of this fucking stuff, man, like, you are literally just surviving. And there's a big difference between that and thriving, because a healthy organism is an adaptable organism. And if you're doing those small things, the big things, I say small things, they're actually fucking big things. Like, this, it sounds so, man, it sounds so silly to say to people, make sure you get enough quality sleep. make sure you're drinking enough water. Like, make sure you're doing some breathing exercises. It's like, and I used to be the same, man. I was like, oh, I don't need to worry about that shit. I'm just going to fucking hammer myself at training. And I'm going to eat good food. I'm going to focus on nutrition. And I like very soon realized that, you know, that stuff's not going to work unless my body is in a healthy position where it's getting all of the nutrients and all of the stimulus it needs to be healthy and be at homeostasis. Homeostasis is balance of all the systems. And if there is imbalance, that leads to disease, that leads to illness, that leads to inflammation and all of these other negative health markers, right? So we need to be in a fucking state of homeostasis, which is balance, where everything is working optimally. So then when we go into our training session, now we can build muscle, now we can improve performance, now we can add strength, speed, power, build energy system conditioning and all that type of stuff, man. And it's like, it's a hard conversation to have with people because it is so complex. But that's the whole idea of these Coaches Corner episodes, is to like break this stuff down and go, you know what, like you're wanting the exercises and the sets and the reps and the, you know, the rest periods and fucking all that type of stuff. And it's like, let's talk about getting you to the starting line first.
The bigger picture, yeah. And like you said, the two things that came from that part were one, you were talking about all the different strength profiles, strength conditioning, energy systems. That all takes energy. But if we all have this on this wavelength of just calories in, just calories out, your body hasn't got a finite amount of energy availability. So you could sit on a bike and do 10,000 calories in a day. Do not think that your body is burning literally 10,000 calories of fat. It doesn't work that way. And this is why you don't just get skinny in a week. And people think, oh yeah, but they check their Garmin, and if in one session they've done 500 calories, the next session they've done 700, and they get upset they're missing that 250 calorie drop. But then, like you said, me and you were discussing, is instead of focusing what stimulus we're giving them, if you're doing a weight session, it's very different to an anaerobic ESD. Like you're gonna have a different energy output, but that's where fuel and recovery and the minutiae details of nutrition are eating like a human and not eating like a 5-year-old come in, where if you're having one piece of lettuce and suckling a piece of celery, that's not going to get you to the start line, boss. That's literally going to be dragging your heels everywhere. Where we want someone to come absolutely bouncing into a session and ready to take it to the next level and see a progression. That's what's so frustrating, is the amount of people that I know that are doing training programs. They're not getting any different. They're still the same. They're not. They're not getting stronger. Dude, whatever.
Why? What? Yeah, 100%. Why is that? It's because they're fucking exercising. They're not training.
Don't.
And this is, yeah, dude, let's go into this, man. Like, this is, and, you know, something you said there about, you know, this person burnt 700 calories, 500 calories, blah, blah, blah. Man, all right, I'm going to be honest here. I'm probably going to piss some people off, but I don't give a fuck. This is my podcast. If you don't like it, go and listen to something else, right? If you're exercising to burn calories, then you're fucking doing it wrong.
It's like driving a car for just to see how much petrol you can use. It's fucking stupid. Oh.
Yeah. Like, if I'm going to train, if I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to fucking dedicate an hour of my time, and most people are already limited in time, if I'm going to dedicate an hour of my limited time on a day-to-day basis to go into the fucking gym and train, I'm going to make sure I'm getting something out of that. I'm walking out of that gym feeling better mentally. I'm feeling sharper. My cognitive ability, it has been upregulated. I'm stronger. I'm fitter. I'm faster. I've built more endurance. I've increased my aerobic capacity. I've increased my stamina, my muscular endurance. You know, I'm walking out of the gym knowing that I've fucking achieved something, not just burn energy, right? Oh. Because if you're just going into the gym to burn energy, then, you know, you're looking at it wrong.
Absolutely.
Burn energy and manage your energy balance throughout the other 23 hours of the day.
That's what I say is to, you always get there, what's the best, the old answer, what's the best exercise for fat loss? And they're like, what cardio should I do? And I say, would you really have to go to a gym? And they look at me like I'm on drugs. They're like, what? You're supposed to be, you work in a gym. I was like, If I lived where you live, most like whether Australian or live in Bali, whatever, I said, I'll be getting on a surfboard and I'll be doing 2.5 hours in the sea. I'll be not pissing around
100%.
just doing sweating in an F45 box. That doesn't do it for me. Whereas, like you said, you have to have there should be a reason for you to give up your time, whether you're missing an hour with your kids, whether you're taking time for yourself, or you're investing in you. Investing means getting a reward. It doesn't mean that it's like throwing money at something and get nothing back. What's the point? Whereas it comes back to is what's progression. That's the big one from my side. From the difference between exercising, from just exercising and training is training. We see progression in whatever realm or reality you want to check in, whether it's physiological, biomechanic, or whether you're responding in this certain particular way compared to stood on a Bosu ball with a fucking hammer, swinging it around. You look at people like, what are you doing? No, stop it. No, it's frustrating.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good point that you just made about investment. You know, there's other ways to, you know, obviously people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, well, I still need to burn calories. I still need to manage my energy balance because I want to lose weight. And fuck, let's be honest, you need to be in a calorie deficit to do that, okay? Absolutely. But there's a caveat to that. You need to be healthy first.
And not in a nutrition deficit. That's what I say. It's a calorie deficit, but not a nutrient deficit. That's the big one we see is so much as people, they slam their calories to the floor and they're drinking broccoli soup. And they don't realize that the body has got so many different vitamins and minerals that are used for energy processes, development, cell recycling, whatever. You take all those out, your body's got no mechanics. It's like a car saying it hasn't got any oil for the engine. You have to oil the engine, and that's your nutrients. Is you've got to have everything turning over properly to keep driving that car. That's definitely a point.
Yeah, excellent point, man. But going back to what you're saying about that investment, like if you're, we need to be in an energy deficit to create fat loss, okay? But we shouldn't be looking to go to the gym to do that. We should be looking to go to the gym to focus on adaptation in a positive manner. Like I said before, building strength, speed, power, blah, blah, blah. If you need to create an energy deficit, look at something you fucking enjoy doing. Like you said, going surfing, going hiking. Implement those. It's movement. It is movement. You're just doing movement that you enjoy, not for the calorie burn. You're doing it because you fucking enjoy it. But the side effect of that is the calorie burn. Now you're creating that energy deficit. And I think that's a big point, man. And you know, that ties into, you know, are you investing in yourself or are you punishing yourself? Because when you're going to the gym to burn calories, that's what it ends up being. It ends up being a punishment. Because how many people are going to come off, you know, the festive season and be like, oh, well, I fucking blew out over the last couple of weeks and now I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to fucking burn some calories. And, you know, they dread going to the gym. They're not looking forward to it. Guess what happens when you're not looking forward to doing something? You don't fucking do it. Or you don't stick to it. You do it for a little bit when your motivation's high, but then motivation drops off and you're like, I'm not going to do that anymore. That fucking sucks. I just don't enjoy doing it. You know, and there's something to be said about doing things that you don't fucking enjoy, right? But you need to build up to that. You need to build the consistency doing the things that you enjoy doing that you're going to be able to do long term, possibly for the rest of your fucking life, before you then start adding in things that are uncomfortable. That you don't like doing to build that resilience.
Yeah, and it's taking responsibility, right? Like you said, a good point is I think this was very versed for when we're on it's the 13th of Jan, we're doing this now. How many people listening to this have fallen off the wagon already? Like new year, new me, fucking whatever. Insert any sort of quote they found in a book that they've read because they've been bored and they haven't implemented it. It's because it's not on their value list. They don't value that action. Whereas me and you, we train because it gives us the feeling. Two, we feel that we see the progress. And I'm sure, definitely for myself, like I used to be that guy. I used to be a fat kid. I was obese, so that I used to massively use exercise as a way of trying to. I thought I had to earn the right to do something through exercise. But now I've got older and realised that I actually look and feel better when I train properly and I recover better. I then suddenly realised that exercise is only a small part of my life. Even though I work in it and I love it and I love being a geek and chatting shit about mitochondria and all this kind of stuff, the bottom line is that for me if I'm going to just do exercise just to feel warranted to go and be that guy and go and eat a dinner with my missus, that's the wrong way of looking at it. I'm the opposite. I'd much rather go and enjoy myself and my missus and use that food for fuel to train harder and see the progression of whatever that standpoint is.
Excellent point, man. Excellent point, mate. We've been on 30 minutes already. I haven't even. The first thing I want to do was like get you to reintroduce yourself to my audience, because we did have a conversation a number of months ago. But obviously, you know, shit's been happening. Things have been opening up back in Singapore, going back into lockdown, things like that. Like, give my audience a little bit of an overview of what's been happening in your life. Like, let's talk about how your festive season was, some of the strategies that you used to get through that, and maybe some of the goals that you've set for yourself this year.
So for guys who haven't heard the first episode, obviously Will Foden, I'm from the UK, got a bit of a mixed accent, I've lived all over the world playing, I used to play a bit of pressure rugby. I moved to Singapore on a bit of a life change, wasn't expecting to, and I've been here 4 years now. I work in the busy CBD. I'm an elite coach there, working with CEOs and sort of executive types, but I also deal with some athletes, some BJJ fighters and some rugby players. Obviously, like, I know Cobes from going to the Muscle Nerds course, and me and him have just hit it off, and just every time we talk shop, we lose hours of our life getting in the weeds, but it's definitely the way forward. And
now people get to sit on the as a fly on the wall and hear what we're talking about.
Literally is not being too weird on him, but it's over the festive period. The main thing was trying to have a break. The last year, obviously going down into lockdown, I was actually in Australia with the guys at 98 Gym in January. Literally flew back to Singapore as they were locking down, and then since January I've had 4 days off, like properly off, purely because meaning away from my usual environment. Traveling in Singapore is a bit different. Obviously, you luckily enough you can go in Thailand when you've been out of lockdown, you've been able to, as you said, you had a big trip and you travelled about and you have the ability to. The best thing you have, mate, is when you can go turn your phone off and you go fuck off to the middle of nowhere. I'm so jealous, man. But Christmas for me was massively putting my foot on the ball and looking up, because I think for 6 or 7 months we've all, in Singapore especially, because we felt we're so lucky to be half open, we've all just been driving hard. And then it's like we talked about before, it's about having the end in sight. Is there isn't. So now my New Year's resolution isn't this fat loss goal, or it's actually to be a bit more present. That's and think about what's going on in front of me, rather than I think it's what happens in our industry, but also with people who are open-minded is like the possibilities start rolling in. And you're very quick to go, yeah, I'm seeing like progression. But then you calibrate that with what your values are and what that progression looks like. And that's what I did is over December, I sat back and I just sat by myself and I wrote and I read and I actually spent time with my missus, which she's obviously hopefully appreciative of. But and don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed myself, mate. Like, I go home over Christmas and my mum feeds me like I'm 3 people. And I definitely overate, but I trained over Christmas, but I dialed it back. I did work. I trained as I felt, as I enjoyed. I love running, but not killing myself. Just literally getting out. At home, I go out with my dog. Singapore is it's so hot. So yeah, and then that would be sort of what I did over Christmas, and then I've hit January very much focused on being present with my clients, especially. I've tried to do like just conversation. The conversation we're having now, I've probably done about 8 or 9 times with a client, trying to give them goals and say, look, you've got to decide your goal, but let's think about it long term. Don't be frightened and flipping out. Don't be walking in. I've had some of my clients come up and they've obviously, their friends are on the extreme end of a scale of detox and stuff. I've said, you and I both know the answers to that. And the coolest thing about that is after educating them, they've gone and told their mates. And that is the coolest bit is my clients have walked up and goes, what, you've lost 4 kilos. That's just water. And everyone looks at him like, what? And they're like, yeah, because you haven't eaten carbs, you dickhead. And suddenly, so yeah, that's sort of where I am, I think, mate.
Yeah, that's cool. What's some of the strategies that you've kind of put in place to practice being more mindful?
I write down every evening my plan for the day after. I think it's a big one. Again, at the moment, there's a lot of like self-help stuff, which is very, very wishy-washy in the respect of it's like it's telling you to write down a journal, which is the size of 3 A4 pages about everything. Where shit's in the way, man. We all got stuff to do, but it's being focused on what you're trying to achieve from that and getting the job done and moving forward, not procrastinating and sitting there and trying to overthink stuff. I think like me, I beginning of every quarter, I write down what my goals are physically, what my goals are mentally, or spiritually, my goals from a business standpoint, and my goals from a recreational standpoint. And I mean, it used to be 8 weeks at work, go and travel, go and see, as you said, every place that I haven't been to, but obviously this year we can't. So like now I'm using there's a couple of, you can go to like hotels here. We've got one in January we'll give them for Christmas, but we'll do another one in a couple of months' time just to have a break. And hopefully this vaccine comes out. But yeah, I'm a big look at your plan, have it somewhere where you can actually see it. Don't just write in a book and leave it there for 3 weeks. I mean, I have it on my iPad. I have it on my my board next to me. And then every night I plan my day. I just plan my day because then I can see gaps when I've got time for me, or gaps where I've got time for others, and I've got gaps where filled with miscellaneous stuff. So that's sort of how I've got through it for sure.
And that rounds out part 1 of my 1 hour and 40-minute conversation with Will Foden. You can find his links in the show notes. If you enjoyed that conversation, please make sure you pass it off to your friends and family, and any 5-star ratings and reviews are much appreciated. Much love, guys. Peace.